It is unbelievable how the gun control activists are borrowing from the most successful propaganda effort in history, climate change. And I'm talking about the use of kids, indoctrinating them as young as possible, involving them in lawsuits against the government to force government action. I'm talking about the way they get funded. I'm talking about the way they bypass and want to alter the Constitution in order to get their agenda. The climate control, we'll call them, climate control activists and the gun control activists are in complete harmony, but the gun control activists are copying a very successful strategy from the climate change activists. And Trump has been pretty solid on both.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Now, just like I just had Ted Nugent on, or I just had Tommy Robinson on, or I have Ron Paul on, or any of these people, they're all game changers in their area, critical individuals that broke the news and were Paul Revere's, and Marc Moreno advising Congress, advising the Senate, climatedepot.com, climatehustle.org. It's him and Lord Monckton. They're the ones that, without their research, their doggedness, we wouldn't be here. And they call for his arrest in France, you name it. They try to stop his films being shown. He's got his new best-selling book, Climate Change, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Climate Change. We carry his film, The Climate Hustle, InfoWarsStore.com. But I know this went to like, what, #1 I was reading a few weeks ago on Amazon, but no news coverage of that. Doesn't matter. We are the news. We don't need the fake New York Times and all them with their fake lists to do this. But he joins us to cover their latest assault, the globalists, to take over energy and what Trump's doing and why the economy's coming back and so much more. But I got to just bring it up to you, Mark. What do you make of Trump? And I was told this by Ted Nugent off record. He said I could talk about it today during the break. We never got to it. But he talked to POTUS and he talked to some other folks. And they're like, look, we're going to tell them, okay, we're opening your gun control. So they admit they want to ban it because that's the bills they've already got. Just give me a chance, Trump said. He did it. And now it's got Republicans 10, 15 points, back up in the polls. So I'm not really Machiavellian like that. I can be, but I'm just kind of a straight shooter. I don't kind of like playing politics. But I got to say, man, Trump really is playing 4D chess.
Yes, Trump is handling this well. I get a little nervous when he starts talking about bump stocks and starts sounding a little bit appeasing, because once you feed this beast, the gun control beast, there's no end. The same thing with the climate change. But Trump has held steady on that. And I will tell you, Alex, not only want to talk about my book today, but I want to talk to you about the parallels between this gun control movement and the climate change movement. It is unbelievable how the gun control activists are borrowing from the most successful propaganda effort in history, climate change. And I'm talking about the use of kids, indoctrinating them as young as possible, involving them in lawsuits against the government to force government action. I'm talking about the way they get funded. I'm talking about the way they bypass and want to alter the Constitution in order to get their agenda. The climate control, we'll call them, climate control activists and the gun control activists are in complete harmony, but the gun control activists are copying a very successful strategy from the climate change activists. And Trump has been pretty solid on both.
No, I agree. And I don't like the rhetoric either. It's just that was the strategy to get them to come out and admit they want it all and what it's really about.
Yeah, he sort of drew him out, especially. And it's funny to see the mainstream media denying that the former Supreme Court justice actually said what he said. And they're still doing that. They're still saying, oh, he didn't mean that. But it's one of the greatest things we could have to turn this debate back on him. They want to stress
exactly. So quantify, first it was global freezing, then global warming. Now they say change. Well, everybody knows there's change. They say we're denying change. No, we're denying that humans are what controls everything and that paying Al Gore tax money is going to save us. But as you said, Marxists, communists, authoritarians, Hitler, people said, oh, don't criticize the gun marchers because they're connected to Hitler. Well, Soros was a Nazi collaborator. Youth movements are very fascistic generally, or Maoistic, communistic. And so I think that's totally fair to draw those parallels. And you're right. That's what they're doing, Marc Moreno of climatedepot.com. They are following the famous authoritarian model.
They absolutely are. And interestingly enough, they've always tried to conceal their real agenda, the same way the climate activists have as well. The climate activists, and in the book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Climate Change, I openly have all the documentation and the exact quotes, them saying this isn't about the climate, this isn't about environmental policy, it's about redistribution of wealth, global governance, central power. The UN climate chief actually says, in my book, I interviewed her, she actually says, we seek a centralized transformation that will make life on planet Earth very different. Now, flip that over to the gun control debate. They haven't been that honest until recently. And you're right. Maybe Trump drew this out by getting them all, by getting them more candid. But they try to say, oh, we just need this gun safety measure. We just need this one thing. But now we've drawn the gun control advocates into admitting they want to get rid of and completely eliminate the Second Amendment. So it's the exact same thing. They conceal their real agenda, and the real agenda is completely nothing to do with the actual issue. It's got nothing to do with the school shooting, because they're using and exploiting children the same way they do in climate. They do that in the gun control debate.
Well, you're one of the leading experts then that advises the Senate. Quantify what the end game is. I know you know, a lot of people know, but quantifying what is their end game if they had their cake, and what is their next salvo, their next rollout?
Well, as you've been saying here, I actually traveled to the Czech Republic to interview former Czech President Václav Klaus in person. And he said, having grown up under the Soviet Eastern Bloc domination, since the fall of the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc, the greatest threat we face today is what he calls ambitious environmentalism, or the global warming agenda. They are going after every aspect of our lives, from dishwashers to light bulbs to transportation to our diet to our lifestyles to our home energy use to our vehicles to our sovereignty. And this is their agenda. It's the same agenda. In the book, Alex, I actually go back to the overpopulation scare, the resource scarcity scare, the global cooling scare, and I show that no matter what environmental crisis that they had, the solution was always the same, including in the 1960s and 70s. And that solution, global governance, wealth redistribution, central planning. And I go back, same solution, different environmental scare. And I show it over and over. There's no way you can look at the overwhelming evidence and assume for a minute that they're actually worried about the climate, and in the modern day thing with gun control, that they're actually worried about the safety of children. It has nothing to do with it. This is about their agenda, how they can mask it, how they can move it forward. And they are frighteningly similar, the climate change activists and the gun control activists.
Absolutely. They've already disarmed everybody else around the world except for Switzerland and the U.S. So when we talk about the global carbon tax, the system to regulate it and track it, this is their big enchilada. This is world government funding. So we blow this up, we save the planet. And Trump has delivered. And look, in only 14, 15 months in office, how the economy turned around just because they took the restraints off just a little bit. I mean, wow. I mean, that's really proof of life, proof of concept.
I want to say one thing. Ann Coulter has been making no sense to me, going around saying that Donald Trump has disappointed her, XYZ. Compare Donald Trump.
She is just grandstanding, man. She's turned into a total. Why didn't she go bite the head off chickens at the damn fair if she wants attention? She's a geek.
But someone needs to ask her a simple question. Compare her to how a President Mitt Romney would have been, John McCain. Compare him to a George W. Bush, a George H.W. Bush, or a President Dole. Where does Donald Trump fail in any aspect?
No, he's the royal flush. He's already better than Reagan. Exactly. And you know the enemy. I don't want to get. I ignored Coulter when I saw this crap, but I mean, she's just pulling stunts now. You know, I mean, it's what's wrong with her?
She wrote the book on it, and now she's acting as though he's turned. But he has it. And on the climate, I have a whole chapter. First, I have a whole chapter, Alex, on child indoctrination, and I go through the details. It is appalling when you see. I actually feature the Weather Channel founder.
Well, I know you got to go, but do one more. Oh, he was awesome. Too bad he just died. I want to come back and talk about the founder of the Weather Channel and everything else. Man, I tell you, folks, it is. Yeah, I don't want to go off on a jag on Ann Coulter, but man, God Almighty. And look, say whatever she wants about Trump, but you know, I'm not even going to get into it. It doesn't matter. He brought it up. It's instant gratification culture. What do you people expect? Trump's not God.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Marc Moreno is our guest. He's been traveling the world. They've had arrest warrants out for him. They want him arrested here in the United States. The governor of New York wants him arrested because he dare questions Al Gore when Al Gore says the polar bears are all dying and can't swim, and that New York and L.A. would be underwater by 2013 because the ice caps are going to melt. Actually, Antarctic's at record levels. But they don't care because they can defraud the public. But recently in Australia, he ran into Albert Gore, the guy that told us NAFTA and GATT was great and wanted us to have the TPP, the guy who uses 34 times what anybody uses on average in Tennessee at one of his gigantor mansions on a lake with gigantor boats and gigantor monster trucks and gigantor everything. But it's okay because he's an elitist blubberbot. So here is the evil criminal Marc Moreno daring to even speak to the guru. Here it is. Blubberbot.
Wait, sorry.
Senator James Inhofe.
Oh, nice to see you. Yeah, thank you.
Film, Climate Hustle. Would you take a copy of it, please? No?
Oh.
Thank you. All right.
Shoot. We just want him to take our film. Can I ask how you got access here?
Can I ask how you got in here? We've got rebel scum with us here. They dare talk to one of the greatest con artists on earth. How dare you speak to the Royal Highness? You're not fit to groom his stool. Marc Moreno of Climate Depot, what do you say for yourself?
Thank you for having me on, Alex. Yes, I was in Australia. We were in Melbourne, Australia, and I had to sit through an hour-and-a-half presentation by Al Gore previewing his new sequel, number one. Number two, we had to wait because Al Gore's devious plan included allowing the front rows and the first people allowed in to be the Australian Teachers Association and all the school teachers and elementary school teachers. So they packed the audience with teachers because Al Gore knows you've got to get kids while they're young and propagandize them. So they packed them in. Al Gore gives this presentation. It's all anecdotal, just claptrap, and then immediately walks off the stage. He doesn't even take a single question after people paid $500 plus a head. He had no time for question and answer. So that's why I decided to follow him out. Was able to get that. He was all friendly when he thought I was nice, when he knew who I was. He literally just brushed me off, kept walking, and departed in his Lexus waiting SUV outside in the parking garage.
And I love how there's some redhead lady toting behind. She's looking at him, breathing heavy, that she's just near him. The guru, I saw him sneeze. Some of his snot went in my mouth. And then she looks at you just like, all right. InfoWars Life Brain Force Plus is our #1 selling product by leaps and bounds, and for a good reason. Going back about 5 years ago, we did research on what top-selling nootropics were, what were most popular, what were best, what people liked, and we made it even stronger. Then we cut the price because leading competitors have 5 to 7 times markup. We only have 150%, and then it helps fund our operation. Well, now it's 50% off. That means we've got a 25% markup, and we've got it paired with the Real Red Pill that takes about 7 days to kick in. Brain Force takes about 30 minutes. But the two go together. It's the Mind and Body Challenge. They're both 50% off individually, or together they're 50% off and free shipping with the combo at InfoWarsLife.com. But it's got to end in a couple days because both of these bestsellers are about to sell out. InfoWarsLife.com to get your Brain Force Plus and Real Red Pill today.